Picture this. You're standing on a steel platform in the middle of the North Sea. There's no land in any direction. The nearest coastline is 120 miles away. Below you, the ocean drops 300 feet to the seabed, and around you, 24 hours a day. Machinery is screaming, drilling, pumping, grinding through rock 2 miles beneath the waves. Now imagine trying to sleep through that. Not for one night, for 21 nights in a row, on a structure that never turns off, never goes quiet, and never lets you forget that you're floating on top of one of the most dangerous industrial operations on Earth. Here's the thing most people get completely wrong. They picture oil rig living quarters as some grim metal cell, a bunk, a bucket, and misery. But the reality is almost the opposite. What's actually inside that accommodation block is one of the most carefully engineered survival environments ever built, and almost nobody outside the industry has any idea it exists. There are 3 things you need to understand. The first is where they sleep and why it's built the way it is. The second is the technology that keeps them alive when everything goes wrong. And the third is something that changes how you think about these places entirely. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some workers say they sleep better out there than they ever do at home. So let's start with the most basic question. Where does a person actually sleep on a structure like this? The answer is a section called the accommodation module. On a big offshore platform, this is a separate building bolted onto one corner of the rig. And its location is not random. It's deliberately placed as far as physically possible from the drilling floor and the wellhead. The reason is simple and terrifying. If there's a blowout, a gas leak, or an explosion, the module needs to be in the safest possible zone. On many rigs, it's positioned upwind of the process area, so that toxic gas gets blown away from where people are sleeping, not toward them. But the placement is only the beginning, because the walls of that module are unlike almost any wall you've ever slept behind. They are blast rated. On modern platforms, the accommodation block is built to withstand a hydrocarbon explosion and a fire burning at thousands of degrees for a set number of minutes, long enough for everyone inside to get out. The walls are fire-rated steel, the doors seal, and here is the part almost nobody knows. On many rigs, the entire living quarters are kept at a slightly higher air pressure than the outside. That positive pressure means, if there is a gas leak, the gas physically cannot seep inside. The air pushes out through every crack instead of letting anything dangerous push in. So this is not a barracks. It is a pressurized, blast-proof, fire-proof fortress with beds inside it. But what are those beds actually like? Because that is where it gets strange. The rooms are small. Usually a cabin holds 2 people, sometimes 4 on older rigs, in bunk beds. And on a busy platform, space is so valuable that they use a system with a name that sounds almost unbelievable the first time you hear it. It's called hot bunking, or hot racking. Here's how it works. The rig runs 24 hours a day, so the crew is split into 2 shifts, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Day crew and night crew. And to save space, one bed is shared by 2 workers who are never off at the same time. When the day worker gets up and goes to the drill floor, the night worker climbs into the same bunk he just left. The bed, in a sense, never gets cold, hence the name. One mattress, 2 humans, opposite lives, passing each other twice a day like ghosts. Now you might be thinking that sounds miserable. But before you decide that, there's a bigger problem these cabins have to solve. And it's the reason the design goes further than any hotel room you've ever stayed in. The problem is light. Or rather, the problem is that half the people on the rig are trying to sleep during broad daylight. If you work the night shift, your bedtime is 8 in the morning. The sun is blazing over the ocean. So these cabins are engineered to be totally black. Blackout systems that make it feel like midnight at noon. Because a night shift worker who can't get real darkness doesn't just sleep badly. He gets slow, he gets careless, and on a rig, careless is how people die. And that's the thing that ties all of this together. Every strange feature of these sleeping quarters, the blackout, the isolation, the pressure seals, exists because sleep out here isn't a comfort. It's a safety system. A tired man on a drill floor is a hazard to himself and to everyone standing near him. So the industry treats rest the way it treats any other critical piece of equipment. It engineers it. Which brings us to the rules. Because the way people behave inside that module would shock most people. Almost every offshore rig in the world is completely dry. No alcohol. None. Not a beer after a shift. Not a drink to unwind. The reason is obvious once you think about it. You do not want anyone even slightly impaired on a platform where a single mistake can trigger an explosion. Quiet hours are enforced with an intensity you'd never see in a normal workplace. Slamming a door in the accommodation corridor while the opposite shift is sleeping isn't rude out here. It's the kind of thing that gets you a serious talking to, because you may have just ruined the sleep of a man who's about to operate heavy machinery over open water. And here's a detail almost nobody expects. The food is often incredible. Offshore galleys run 24 hours a day because with 2 shifts, someone is always eating breakfast and someone is always eating dinner at the same table. And the quality is deliberately high. Steak, fresh fruit, multiple hot options, desserts, a constant supply of coffee. This isn't generosity, it's strategy. When you take a person and strip away their home, their family, sunlight on a schedule, and their freedom to leave, food becomes one of the only pleasures left. Companies figured out a long time ago that a well-fed crew is a stable crew, and a stable crew is a safe crew. So they feed people like kings, because morale is a safety feature too. But all of this comfort sits on top of one uncomfortable truth, and it's the thing that separates an oil rig bedroom from any other bedroom on the planet. You cannot leave. If you're on a 2-week rotation, you are on that structure for 2 weeks. There's no walking out, no driving home, no calling it a day. The only way off is a helicopter or a boat, and neither of those is coming just because you've had enough. The nearest hospital might be an hour of flight time away in good weather, and in bad weather, no aircraft is flying at all. So the accommodation module isn't just where you sleep. It's your home, your shelter, and potentially your last line of defense, all at the same time. And on a semi-submersible rig, one that floats instead of standing on legs, you feel the whole thing move. The ocean rocks the entire structure, gently, constantly, all night long. Which leads to the part that surprises everyone. Ask a lot of offshore workers about sleeping out there, and a strange number of them will tell you the same thing. They sleep better on the rig than they do at home. The reasons are almost poetic. The gentle motion of a floating rig rocks people to sleep like a cradle. The blackout cabins are darker than any bedroom on land. The low, constant hum of the machinery becomes a kind of white noise that drowns out the world. And there's no phone buzzing with life admin, no dishes, no dog barking, no traffic. Just work, food, and deep, engineered, protected sleep. The most extreme places to live don't always produce the worst rest. Sometimes they produce the best. So the next time you fill up your car and never think twice about where that fuel came from, remember there's a person 120 miles offshore, sleeping in a blast-proof box that rocks on the ocean, guarding a machine that never sleeps. Now, I want to hear from you. If you've worked offshore, how did you sleep out there? Better or worse than at home? Drop it in the comments. And if you learned something today, hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll see you.